This doesn't have anything to do with Jackson Moore, does it? Rachelle! Rachelle! Another pause while Rachelle's heartbeat thudded so loudly she could hear it. You call me, Heather insisted, sounding worried. Before you take off on some trip that's going to be emotional suicide, you call me. Listen, Rachelle, you're supposed to be the level-headed one. And you told me once if you ever thought about doing anything as insane as returning to that town, that I was supposed to take a gun and shoot you, remember? Well, consider yourself shot. Don't go and do something stupid, and just forget Jackson, you hear? Forget him. He's bad news. Always was, always will be. I wish you were home so we could straighten this out, Heather added anxiously. Okay, you call me, okay? Finally, a click and a beep, and Rachelle let out her breath. Her hands were trembling as she poured herself a cup of coffee. Just the mention of Jackson could shake her up. It had been 12 years. 12 years. How could she still be so affected by a man who had turned his back on her when she'd been his only friend in a town that had branded him and wanted him hung from the tallest tree? The answer was simple and complicated. Despite her down-to-earth nature, Rachelle had once had a romantic side, a part of her personality that had believed in fairy tales and castles and knights on white chargers. And bad boys. Hadn't she believed in the myth of the bad boy with the heart of gold? Well, Jackson Moore had killed that fantasy, which, all things considered, was probably for the best. She shrugged out of her jacket and draped it over the cane-back kitchen chair. Water dripped from the sleeves to the floor, but she didn't care. She considered calling Heather, but decided against it. Why have an argument with her younger sister? She could picture Heather, blonde hair neatly cut, silk pants and matching top, perfect smile. One of San Francisco's elite, or she had been during her marriage to Dennis Leonetti, a rich man whose father owned the Bank of the Greater Bay. Now Heather, divorced and a single mother, was trying to make her own living by converting the art she'd dabbled in for years into a career. She'd bought a loft, studio, and gallery not far from Ghirardelli Square. Heather had enough problems. She didn't need to worry about her older sister, the confirmed career woman, the reporter who was always championing the cause of the underdog, and who thought nothing of storming into the office of any public official for a quote. The reporter who still quaked at the mention of a man she hadn't seen for over a decade. Rachelle glanced at the cluttered kitchen table and the manila envelope that contained a copy of the article she'd already left with her editor at the San Francisco Herald. Her first article explained that for the next 10 weeks, her syndicated column would be written from Gold Creek, California, the town where she'd grown up. Her introductory column in the series Return to Gold Creek would appear in newspapers across the country tomorrow, and her editor, Marcy DuPont, expected more, a lot more. Marcy wanted an interview, by telephone of course, with Jackson Moore. That request would probably prove impossible. Frowning thoughtfully to herself, Rachelle kicked off her sodden boots. Her socks were waterlogged, and she yanked them off before tossing the wet hosiery into the bathroom sink. Padding barefoot into her single bedroom, she finger-combed her tangled hair and spent the next 10 minutes braiding the wet strands into a single auburn plait that swung past her shoulders as she walked. She'd decided to go back to Gold Creek, and come hell or high water, she was going. No amount of talking from Heather was going to change things. She'd already worked out the details with her job. Marcy was all for a column of self-examination about herself and the town in which she'd grown up. Rachelle bit her lower lip and felt a tiny jab of guilt that she'd have to draw Jackson into this. Too bad. Especially now, when she was over him. Completely over him. Now she had David. Kind, understanding David. Hadn't he insisted she return to find herself or some such 60s mumbo-jumbo? What he'd really meant was that he wanted her to be able to lock away the past, once and for all, and return to him. He wanted her to move in with him, marry him, and accept his teenage daughters as her stepchildren.